Hello, everyone, and welcome to ROG Pulse, your inside look at what's happening behind the scenes here at the Republic of Gamers. And today we are answering all of your questions about the huge amounts of gaming gear we announced here last week at CES, from GPUs, motherboards, you name it.
We got all of it. We are very excited. We've been gathering your questions for the past week, seeking out answers across the company just for you. Now, most of these questions came from our Discord server. You can join the official Republic of Gamers Discord over at rog.gg/join Discord. But I also picked up a couple other questions as I was talking to people at CES or as I saw things on social media. So we have a few of those kind of peppered in here as well. You can ask questions live in chat. I see you, chat. I'm reading it right now. But here's how this is going to work. We're going to go through these in batches. We'll go through some of our Discord questions, and then we'll take a break to kind of go through a bunch of the live questions that have built up. Then we'll do more Discord questions, and probably, if we solve enough, a final set of live questions at the end. So if we don't answer your question right away, we are not ignoring you. We are just trying to get those who ask questions ahead of time. Our colleague Lane is in the chat collecting all of your questions and putting them into our doc here, and all that. So there are some questions we won't be able to answer either because either we don't have the answer offhand or it's related to a future product that we haven't announced.
Right.
Sadly, I can't announce things that aren't public yet. It's just the way it goes. Depending on time constraints, we may not get to all of them. We're going to try and keep this around an hour. But so again, if we don't answer your question, if we don't get to it, I'm sorry. It could be just that we don't have the answer. Another thing is, if we aren't answering your question, it's possible that you joined late and it was already answered earlier in the stream. So chat, guys, help each other out. Let people know if their question has already been answered or if we've already said that we can't answer it. That would be a huge help. You're my eyes and ears out there.
We love you.
And yeah, finally, whatever you guys do, please don't spam the same thing in chat over and over and over and over again. If you asked a question once, it's been seen, it's been copied. If we have the answer, we'll probably get to it. But that's why we solicit questions ahead of time, just to make sure we get as detailed an answer as we can. But if you just spam stuff in chat, then we won't see the questions. So
yeah,
thank you. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, we've got a lot to get through today, so let's do it, and let's jump on into one of maybe the biggest question that we've been
Everyone's
asked.
asking a version of this question right now.
Oh, that's the wrong thing.
That's not it. That's not it.
There we go.
All right. When will these products be available and how much will they cost? So guys, I'm going to answer everything that I can about pricing and availability right now. So listen up, because I know all of you are asking this question right now. I can see the chat. I cannot share pricing for all products just yet. Some retailers, like Best Buy, are already starting to post some of our upcoming laptops, so you can see some of the prices there. Other products, like graphics card, pricing is not public yet, but it should be in the near future. Go to our site, go to retailers, look at the product pages. If the pricing's not there, I can't tell you what it is yet.
Yeah, we don't even know it, right? It's not that we're just holding out on you. We don't have the information.
Yeah, I don't actually know. And it's different for every region too.
Yeah, that's
and I know some people are going to be in chat asking, when's this available in India? What does it cost in the UK? I don't have answers to any of those as well. Availability is interesting. We kind of talk about this every year, but for those of you who don't know, the way that it works is that we have to get chips from Intel and NVIDIA and AMD and all those components. Then we, finish building the product. Then we send it out to the local offices, and then the local offices send it out to the retailers, and some retailers take longer to skew things up and get them on the site. So for most products, we don't have an internal date where we're like, this is going to be on sale on X time. It's just kind of each of the things come when they come. Now, that said, we do have some availability information that we can talk about in a general sense. So graphics cards, for example, we aren't allowed to start selling them until NVIDIA officially launches the series, right? Which is January 30th. Some cards may be available to buy on that day from ROG, at least in some regions. But it depends on when we get the chips from NVIDIA and when we're able to ship them out to the local offices and all that stuff. So I don't have exact dates, but it won't be until January 30th at the earliest. And certain retailers may not have certain cards up until later than that date. Again, it depends on when some of those chips come in. It may be that we get 5080 chips before we get the 5090s, so those go up first. It just depends. As for laptops, similar situation there. If you watched NVIDIA's keynote, they mentioned that 5090, 5080, and 5070 Ti laptops will all go on sale in March. That's not just from us, that's from all manufacturers. 5070 models are going to come in April. So again, we're kind of beholden to their schedule because we have to get our allocation of tips from them and adhere to that launch window. So I would start looking for the new ROG laptops around March, though when exactly will depend on shipping times for all that stuff. Could end up being later. And then 5070 models probably in April. There is an exception. The ROG Flow Z13, because it's an all AMD machine, it's just that one Strix Halo chip. That's going to be ready a bit earlier. I'm told that it should be hopefully available around February. We have our pre-production sample in-house. Jake's got one in his office. We are going to unbox it next week here on stream. Same time, same place, so you can check that out. In terms of the final units on shelf, probably more like February or a bit later. And then, as we get through kind of February and March, hopefully we'll start getting some of our samples of the NVIDIA machines and we can unbox those for you on stream. We may have more information then in terms of pricing and things like that. So that is all of the pricing and availability information that I can offer at this particular time. If anyone asks in chat what the price of a product will be or what date goes on sale, I will not have anything to answer from this moment forward. So again, chat, help each other out, please. Hopefully all that gives you a general window to start watching for some of this stuff.
Yeah, and just another update for chat, guys. We are going to have a live question segment, so we do see you in chat right now. We have some pre-selected questions. We'll get to the live questions in a bit.
Cool. All right, let's start with the product-specific questions.
All right, Fred asks, will there be a white version of the Astral or Strix 5080?
This was a really common. A lot of people.
It wasn't just Fred.
White cards. It was not just Fred. Fred was just the first.
Fred the first.
All right. So we often announce white GPU variants a little bit after the launch. Historically, it was usually a Strix model, but I think last gen we had some tough models. It just varies to generation, like which family gets the white model. We are hoping. Okay, please note the word hoping. We are hoping to offer a white model for each of our GPU families this year. But we don't have any details about what model or when they're coming just yet. So stay tuned. If things go to plan, we may have a white Astral, white Strix, white Tough, which would be sweet. It won't be for every GPU in the stack, 5090, 5080, 5070, it'll be just probably a certain model, but we'll see. But I can confirm that white GPUs are in our future in some way, shape, or form. Also, for those who asked, ProArt models also coming later this year as well. So,
nice.
We didn't get rid of ProArt or anything like that. They just weren't part of the kind of initial launch. So
cool.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Next up, we got Zeldon asking, I love the Astral design, but why no BTF version? The Z890 Maximus BTF motherboard got announced yesterday and would pair perfectly with the new Astral 5090.
It would. It certainly would. This is kind of the same answer to the previous question. We want to make sure that we serve the wider audience of users since demand is so high for new GPUs at launch. We don't have a BTF 50 series card just yet, though, but a BTF card is in the works. I can confirm that. Obviously, we're investing in BTF. It's happening. It just wasn't part of that initial launch.
Okay, makes sense. Next up from Ritsu the Ice Prince. In terms of lineup positioning, is Astral above Strix or Strix above Astral?
We had a few questions, and I'm still seeing some questions in chat about will there be a tough 5090? What's the Astral Strix? I made a very crude graphic to show you guys that should hopefully tell you everything you need to know. The short answer to this specific question is that Astral is above Strix in the lineup. Astral is our absolute highest end graphics card we sell with the most features, the best stuff, the best cooling, right, for fans. And Strix is just below that. You can kind of tell that hierarchy by the way that we have the 5090 and 5080 available as Astral cards and the 5070 and 5070 Ti available as Strix cards. So that on the left side is our full ROG offering. Those are our premium offerings with the other ASUS offerings separate because Tough Gaming and Prime are kind of separate brands from ROG. You can kind of think of Astral and Strix like our motherboard or our monitor lineups. If you look at those product lines, Strix are not usually the absolute top end. They're still premium products. They're above, They're above Tough and ASUS Prime, but
they're Swift, Crosshair.
Well, so yes, in monitors you have ROG Strix as kind of this option here, and then Swift are like
Is
the
above
ultra
that.
premium. And
Yep.
then in monitors, you have Maximus and Crosshair as the Halo
Motherboards.
tier products, and then Strix, motherboards. Sorry, that's motherboards are ROG Crosshair and ROG Maximus, and then Strix is the premium but slightly wider range of upper mid range or lower end premium stuff, right? So Astral kind of brings our graphics card families in line with those other product lines, where Strix is premium, feature rich, has that same distinct Strix style, but there's a Halo tier product above it. That's what Astral is.
Yeah, and honestly, the Astral and the Crosshair, they look so good together. So there you go.
Do.
Just line them up. But yeah, BTF, as we mentioned, BTF is in the works, you said, and we said we have white cards in the works as well as Pro Art cards in the works. So this is what we have right now. There will be more cards in the future, according to what Whitson said. Okay, moving along here. Our next question came from PK1. What are the power limits on the 5090 Astral and 5090 Tough?
I'll do you one better. I've got the power ratings for all 4 GPUs here. So 5090 has a 575 watt TGP. The 5080 has a 360 watt TGP. The 5070 Ti has a 300 watt TGP. And the 5070 has a 250 watt TGP. That was confusing because I accidentally wrote 3070 Ti in my notes. That's not correct. It's 50. I'm glad I caught that. So those are your power limits for those GPUs. I don't believe that tends to vary a ton between Astral and Tough. Like, those are NVIDIA's specs, right? Clock speeds can sometimes vary between our variants of the cards, especially like if you get our OC edition. We may bin the chips differently and overclock the Astral slightly higher than the Strix and the Tough or whatever. I don't have clock speeds just yet, so that's not like I don't actually know, but that has how it has gone in the past. So keep an eye on those product pages. Once we have clocks to post on those product pages, you'll be able to see how the different Astral, Strix, Tough models compare in terms of those kinds of power and performance metrics.
Okay. Next up from the Floofy Poofy, one of our regulars in Discord. On the ROG Strix 5070 and 5070 Ti graphics cards, how wide is the opening around the 16-pin socket? I want to check the compatibility with the 90 and 180 degree cable adapters.
This is a very specific question. He's talking about, when you have the PCB, right? And then there's a little like kind of opening in the PCB for the power connector. That is 2.4 centimeters wide. I was able to get an answer for you, Floofy Poofy.
This is why we pre-ask questions, because we can then, that's something we would never know
off the top of my head.
Yeah.
No.
But somebody in the company knows, so.
Somebody knows, or somebody has a ruler and can go measure it, right? Actually, I have my special ROG. Wait, where's my ROG ruler?
He lost it.
My son stole it. He thought it was so cool. I have my special ROG. This comes with some of our graphics cards, so I could measure it. But
there's a smaller one too you can get as well.
Yeah, I have the smaller one too. It's like on a little keychain. I got a lot of ROG rulers. It's a weird thing.
That is a weird
thing that I'm apparently collecting now.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up,
moving on.
Question from Pask. Will there be new 50 series cards? Will the new 50 series cards be compatible with third-party water blocks? Do you have any confirmed partners?
We got this question last year as well when we announced the super cards, and the answer is kind of the same as it was then. Our PCB on the 50 series cards is custom, but we have shared that design with a few of our friends in the water block business. But it's up to them to go and create something that's compatible with our card, right? So we don't guarantee compatibility with any particular like third-party product. That's on them. They're the ones who usually will build a product and then validate compatibility and say this water block is compatible with these cards from these manufacturers. So check with your favorite water block manufacturers when the time comes to see what's available for our 50 series cards, and you can kind of start planning out your liquid cooled build then.
Okay, sounds good. All right, moving on. We have a question from Ducky Barnes. Is it possible to change the tubing on the Astral LC 5090 to use our own custom or hardline tubing?
First of all, your username is great, Ducky Barnes, as a Marvel fan and as a fan of ducks. Thumbs up from me. So technically, no to this question. The 5090, the Astral 5090 LC is an AIO cooler, right? It's an all-in-one unit. It's all connected. Now that said, I'm sure there are people out there that have like modded AIO coolers in the past to use their own tubing or whatever. But I don't know what that would entail. It's not an officially supported feature of the card. It's an AIO GPU. So, proceed at your own risk if you want to cut up one of those bad boys, but you would be cutting it up. It's not a thing that we officially support.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a hard thing to do, but
I've seen people do it on CPU coolers before, like back in the day, but I don't know if I'd cut up a 5090 for it personally.
sounds a little dangerous and
It's
expensive.
gonna be a good looking card.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm gonna be getting one in here. We'll do some cool stuff with it.
Yeah.
Not that, but we'll do some cool stuff with it.
Okay, from On Bake Platinum on the Astral LC RTX 5090, where are the fan cables? Can you change out the fans on the radiator?
So, yes, but is the answer. The liquid cooled version of our Astral 5090 uses our daisy chainable fans, much like last year's 4090 Matrix card. So those are really cool because they eliminate the need for a lot of the cabling. So you get a much cleaner appearance and you have to do less cable management, things like that. It is really cool. So that's where the cables are, to answer your question. They're like kind of all, the fans kind of connect to each other. So you don't have as many cables. Now, that does mean that they use a different connector to connect the fans to the GPU itself. It's not a standard like 3 or 4 pin connector.
Mm-hmm.
But you can unscrew the fans normally. We did that in case you wanted to flip them around and reverse the airflow. So that does mean that you can unscrew the fans and put your own fans on. You'll just need somewhere to connect them to your PC. So if you have other case fans you want to use, you could connect them to your GPU's radiator and then connect them to your motherboard's standard 3 or 4 pin headers. You can connect, I believe, up to 2 of them to the Fan Connect 2 headers on the GPU, and use GPU tweak to control the fan speeds, something like that. But you'd have to find like somewhere else to connect them rather than like the standard place that they connect, if that makes sense.
So a little less seamless, but the option is there if you want to finagle it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
I think that's all the graphics card.
Yeah, that's going to be our first batch of questions, which were very largely focused around graphics cards, and we are going to slip into doing some live questions as we promised. We're going to do live questions now, then we'll go back into some more pre-selected questions, and then after that, we'll do more live questions at the end of the show. So,
I've got a couple here.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with this one. I've seen a couple people ask, why do the AMD Strix laptops not have a 5090? Like, why didn't you pair like the highest end AMD CPUs with the highest end NVIDIA GPUs? I don't have a super in-depth answer for that at the moment, but I will say this. If you go watch our CES Q&A last year, we had a pretty big discussion about how the company decides on like what SKUs to make and what SKUs to sell in certain regions and things like that. I won't rehash the whole thing here, but so you can go back and check that out. But it basically boils down to demand, and not just like demand is not just one thing, right? It's partially what we, or what the people building the product perceive the demand for a specific SKU is, but it's also what retailers and local offices are demanding, right? So whenever we release a product, right, there's always a contingent of people that really want a specific SKU that we didn't announce. So in those instances, it's possible that the retailers didn't make a big push for that SKU, right? And if retailers aren't asking for them, we're thinking, how are we going to sell them? And we don't make it. It could be that our team didn't anticipate demand for that SKU for one reason or another. It could also be that demand for that SKU is actually low, but it just has a very vocal minority of people that want it. So it seems like demand is higher than it is. I know that's been true for a few products in the past. In this case, specific to the Strix laptops, I actually agree that those top-end AMD CPUs would be really kick-ass when paired with the top-end NVIDIA GPUs. Maybe we'll see it happen. We do sometimes release new SKUs or laptops like mid-year around Computex time, but it just kind of depends on how things shake out. That's just me kind of reading the room. Like, I don't have any concrete details on what's coming. I'm just letting you know what's possible. I can't announce something that doesn't exist yet. And I know that it's frustrating when the config you want isn't available. So we'll have to kind of wait and see if something more is coming down the pipe. All that said, I do recommend those Strix SCAR machines with the Intel and the 5090 and the mini LED. Like that machine is amazing. The performance of the 5090 will be sweet. The mini LED alone is worth it. Like that display is gorgeous. I honestly still can't believe it's in a laptop. Like it's just that good. So those Strix SCAR machines are going to be awesome if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Brian asked a whole lot of questions right before stream starts. I'm not going to be able to go through all of these because we have a lot of questions. To your compatibility questions on the Strix, the answer is yes to most. All of the info on SSD and RAM compatibility with Strix is actually available on the product page. So you can actually go check that out right now. But he asked an interesting question about reviewers, asking whether reviewers get their devices ahead of time or whether they get them on the sale date. Usually reviewers get their stuff ahead of time. As soon as we have our final or near final units in production, we'll ship a portion of that first batch out to reviewers. And then the batches after that go to retailers to prep for sale. So that's why you often see reviews go up sometimes before the on-shelf date or sometimes right on the on-shelf date. You know, they didn't review that laptop for 6 hours and then post a review. They've usually had that for some time. That's kind of how we get those reviews out in time for people to make an informed decision when they go to buy, right? So,
which is essential.
Yep. All right. Some of these questions are pretty funny. Okay, so first question, does the Z13 have 64 gigs or 128 gigs of RAM? There are a few different SKUs. The highest end SKU is 128, but how many of those there will be, whether they'll be sold in your region, you'll have to check your local retailers for
That's
that.
crazy,
but there is a version with up to 128 gigs of RAM on the Z13, which is bonkers.
It's insane. It's tablet. Like, ugh.
So it was funny because I think I was telling people this at CES. It was like someone looked at our Z13 and was like, what if we took this Z13 from 2023, redesigned it, and just went like nuts with it? I was going to use I was going to swear, but I chose not to. Just went ape poop with it. You know, like let's just go like all out and like put 128 gigs of RAM in there. Like just go nuts. They made the battery bigger. They shook the motherboard is super, super dense on that model in order to fit the fans and a bigger battery. It's just crazy. Like it is the overkillist of things. And sometimes like when we do something that overkill, like you can't really buy it, but like this is an actual device that like you could buy in a store. It's really cool. Sean YT asks, I know the Astral is inspired by a black hole, but will it also collapse my motherboard onto itself if I don't use a GPU support bracket? We're not there yet. But to turn this, I think, joke question into a serious piece of information, they are large cards. We do have brackets, the little holders included in the package for those, just like we did with the 40 series. So my 4090 is still holding up beautifully with that bracket. So,
same.
Pandorian Gray on Twitch says, "Have you followed the Founders Edition engineering?" So, like I said, we are using custom PCBs in our graphics cards. But he asks, has the cooler been revamped? Yes. It's different than the Founders Edition, but the Astral series in particular has a lot of new changes. So we had that pass-through section right at the end of the card, that vent that goes through. But on the Astral, we added a fourth fan, so it's push-pull, which allowed us to make the heatsink denser. We're using phase change thermal pads on all of our graphics cards this year. We are using vapor chambers on a number of graphics cards this year. So yeah, there are definitely some changes, but it depends on the version of the card you have. And actually, hold up. I can actually drop I wrote a new article this week, like yesterday, that explains the difference between Strix, Tough, Prime, and Astral. So I'm going to drop that in chat. You guys can go check that out if you want a little bit more help discerning the difference between our lineups of cards. Because, you know, if we have a 5080 or a 5070 in Strix and Tough and Prime, what's the difference? This article will help you out.
Great resource. There's a lot of really good resources about which to grab of whatever in every category you can think of that you guys have written.
That was one of my biggest goals when I started this job, was like, because that was one of my points of confusion. Even as a reviewer, I was like, what's the difference between Strix and Tough and Crosshair and like all this stuff? And the site didn't have like a very clear, like, this is how the product lines break down. And I was like, I'm gonna write a bunch of articles that explain all this stuff.
Very helpful.
So I hope you guys appreciate it, because I update them every year, and I just keep putting work into those, even if I don't think they get necessarily a ton of traffic, but I hope it helps. Beantown TV says, Whitson, it was good meeting you last Thursday. And then Lane just wrote, insert Whitson here. It was good to meet you too. Questions about cooling improvements to the laptop line to handle the new 50 series GPUs. This is an interesting question. So sorry, I didn't read the actual, Lane didn't like copy and paste the actual question. So I get this question a lot. And I actually got it at CES too, when people were like, how are you putting a 50 series laptop in a Zephyrus machine? How, can it handle it? One thing you have to remember with the way that laptop GPUs work, right? These days, the way that NVIDIA does their laptop GPUs is that they have their chip, they have their die, right? And like, this is a 5090 laptop GPU. This is a 5080 laptop GPU. They give them to us, and then we determine what wattage to run them at. So, yes, the 5080 and 5090 are more like difficult to cool, but we also determine how hot the chip is going to run, right? So if in a Strix machine, that 5080 is running at like 175 watts. In a Zephyrus machine, we may run it closer to, I don't have the exact TGP this year, but
Drop
for
it a little
example,
bit. Yeah.
It'll be at like 100 watts, or in another laptop, it might be 140 watts.
Right.
And that lowers the temperature drastically. So that allows us to, now those are going to be slightly different in performance, right? The more power you give it, the better it's going to perform. That's why our Strix laptops are for if performance is your prime priority. And if portability, you want more of a balance between performance and portability, Zephyrus is going to be for you.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the answer is that we always adjust the wattage to match whatever the body of the laptop is that we're trying to fit that chip into.
Right.
Now, that said, we have made improvements to all of the laptops. Strix SCAR and Strix G were completely redesigned this year, the Intel models. So they have an ultra efficient vapor chamber with a new kind of sandwich heat sink design at the end. You can see all of this information is in that original CES reveal.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've also made some small updates to Zephyrus. Nothing like huge redesign, but again, some different models may come with vapor chambers and some slightly different, I think like thicker heat pipes or something like that. Don't quote me, but so, there are always some slight changes or big changes being made, but the big thing is that we choose what wattage to run those chips at to fit the chassis and the heat dissipation power of each individual laptop.
Yeah. Cool. Very good. Very good. So we've answered some live questions just now, and a lot of the live questions that you guys have asked are actually going to line up with the other pre-selected questions we have to jump into next. So we're going to jump into some more pre-selected questions that we took on Discord and Twitch and YouTube earlier in the week. And then we will do more live questions at the end if there's more that we can answer or haven't already answered. But we have answered a lot of questions I'm still seeing in chat about like white GPUs and stuff. So guys, again, I'm trying to type in chat to people that are asking these questions again, but you may have missed it. And we're not going to sit here and reiterate the same questions over and over and over again, because people will just continue to ask the same question. So that being said, we're going to jump into the world of laptops. And a lot of people have been asking if we have discontinued the Flow X16, the Flow X13, or even the Zephyrus Duo. Someone in chat's been really asking about the Duo.
I've actually seen quite a few people asking about the Duo. A lot of people were lamenting the lack of a Duo in our announcement. So again, if in last year's Q&A, if you remember, the 2023 Flow X16, the Flow X13, and the Zephyrus Duo 16 had not yet, I said in last year's Q&A that they had not yet been discontinued. We carried over a number of our 2023 models through 2024, since there were no GPUs, no new GPUs last year for laptops. And we don't do a full redesign of every laptop every year anyway. So instead of refreshing those new models with just new CPUs, we just carried the 2023 models through 2024. As of 2025, those specific models, that is the 2023 models of the X13, X16 Duo, are end of life. However, that does not mean that those product lines are necessarily dead. Some may be, some may not be. I don't know what the future might or might not hold. But it's not like once we stop making a laptop, we're like, okay, we can't go back now. Like, the Flow X series or the Duo series could make a comeback at some point in the future. I just don't have anything to specific to share at this point in time. For now, they are not part of the 2025 lineup. I will say that in the meantime, the Flow X13 design we still sell that as a ProArt laptop. It's the ASUS ProArt PX13, very similar clamshell, 360 hinge, touchscreen design, very similar in a lot of ways. If you dug the X13 like I did, like that was one of my favorite laptops, the PX13 offers a lot of the same benefits in a similar design. But yeah, so I know that's like a little bit of a non-answer, but that's, again, like we can't announce things that haven't been announced. I can't tell you what the future holds because in a lot of cases I don't even know. But I was told like there's nothing that stops us from making a new one in the future if that's something that the team decides to do.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have a question from Flying Endeavor. Do the new Strix machines have both RAM slots swappable, or is one soldered on? What about the mini LED? Is that available on all models or just the SCAR?
So both RAM slots and both SSD slots on the Strix machines are swappable. That's actually been the case in the past too, at least as long as I've been here. The Flying Endeavor was asking whether there was like one open slot and one soldered, one
Got it.
like
Heart baked in. Yeah.
So the one soldered module was actually on the old Zephyrus machines. Those were thinner, so we had to solder one RAM module onto the motherboard and then leave one open for upgrading. Strix has always left both open. Again, like at least as long as I've been here. So hopefully that answers your question. All of this year's Strix models, both SSD slots, both RAM slots, upgradable. As far as the Nebula HDR display with mini LED, that is only on the Strix SCAR. The Strix G16 and G18 do not have an option for mini LED. That is like our SCAR options, like a lot of the highest end options, like the Anime Vision, the mini LED, usually like the highest tier GPU. A lot of times that is reserved for models with the SCAR name. We'll have a guide posting very soon. The guide's already up, but it's for last year's models that tells you all the differences between Strix SCAR and Strix G to help you make those kind of buying decisions. Again, like that's a big thing for me. I want to kind of help explain that stuff in as clear format as possible. They're going to be nice little tables and graphs that like very clearly lay out the difference between some of these product lines. We just haven't, they're literally working up the graphics for that article right now.
Oh, really?
And they'll be posted on the site. Yeah. I realized the laptops don't go on sale until March, but I want to get those up as soon as possible so people like kind of know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
So again, those are very near and dear to my heart. I'm going to get them up very soon. Keep an eye on rog.asus.com to see that stuff.
Cool. Next up from Emilio, do the Strix SCAR laptops with Thunderbolt 5 support 140 watt power delivery charging like some other Thunderbolt 5 devices?
So actually those ports are limited to 100 watts. We have our new, like that rectangular power connector that we launched on the Zephyrus models last year. We brought those over to the Strix. So if you want higher wattages, you can use those chargers, or if if you're gaming while plugged in, like you'll want one of those.
Okay. Next up from Lenny, what's so special about the new Flow Z13 if its graphics power is similar to the previous generation?
I grabbed this from your stream last week.
Yeah.
This was not asked. I saw this on, I was checking in to see what kind of questions people were asking in case there was anything for the stream. He's basically asking, since the previous generation Z13 came with an RTX 4060 or a 4070 in the case of the acronym edition, he's saying what makes the 2025 model special if its AMD graphics are supposedly on par with like a 4060-ish. And there are two big things, right? One is efficiency. We talked about this in that CES reveal. Since driving one chip is more efficient than driving two separate chips, that's an advantage. In addition, we enlarged the battery on the 2025 model. So that coupled with the extra efficiency is going to get you better battery life on the 2025 Flow Z13. The other thing is VRAM. Because the new Z13 uses a single chip design, it has a unified memory architecture, which is a very technical way of saying you get one big pool of memory and you can allocate it however you want between VRAM and the rest of the system. Kind of like you do on the ROG Ally. If you have an Ally, you've probably done this before, selected how much VRAM you want to give it. On a typical laptop, right? Like if let's say you have a dedicated GPU like the RTX 4060, right? It has a certain amount of VRAM, and that amount can't be changed. But some people might want more VRAM for higher resolution textures or for AI features or things like that. But you can't change the amount of VRAM on a dedicated GPU. With the Strix Halo chip in the Z13, you could just say, I want more VRAM for this specific task, and then reap the benefits. It's way more flexible. And I know VRAM is kind of like a hot topic these days for a lot of people because they're, again, using high resolution textures or using some of those AI features. So that's a pretty big advantage for some people if you want more VRAM than some of those lower tier GPUs are offering. That's an advantage of that unified chip design. So that's another benefit to the Z13 for this year. Plus, you have some other like quality of life features that we added too, like the command center button on the side that brings out quick settings, things like that. New design, like it's just you get some quality of life things in addition to some of the kind of internal benefits. So I hope that answers. I don't even know if Lenny is watching right now, but I hope that answers that question for some.
I told him most of those things on Twitch when he asked that question, so I think that's pretty good. But just for those that are curious about the Z13, we will be unboxing one week from today on January 23rd. We'll have one. It's right there. I've been waiting to open it for like 3 weeks now. Cannot wait to see that thing.
Which is very hard for Jay because it's his favorite.
I love the Z13. Yeah, it's the SCAR and the Z13. The smallest and the biggest are the devices I like the most that we make. But we have more questions to jump through, so let us move along to lots and lots and lots of people saying, where is the Ally 2?
I actually took this from the CES stream itself. Half the chat was just like, Ally 2, I'm waiting for the Ally 2. Where is it? Where is it? A lot of people were really hoping for an Ally announcement at CES. And I tried to tell people ahead of time that we weren't going to announce one at CES.
You did.
But word did not spread far enough. If you guys recall in our last Q&A, not the CES Q&A, but the one we did on the Ally X when it launched, I talked a bit about how we were trying not to launch a bunch of handhelds in quick succession. We just launched the Ally X 6 months ago. So that's a pretty short window to be launching an Ally 2. Not only do we want to avoid a 6-month period between launches, ideally, we'd like to stretch it out to more than a year. I talked about this last time. We kind of see the Ally as in between a PC and a console, right? It's not quite a PC, but it's not quite a console either. So a release cadence kind of in between what PCs and console offers would make sense. We don't want to give you guys constant FOMO, right? And feel like, oh, they just announced, do six months later, new handheld, got to upgrade. 6 months later, new handheld, got to upgrade. Like, we're not trying to do that to you. So I said that last year, still holds true. I don't know what this year holds, right? I know AMD Z2 processors are on the way and you guys want a new device. So we'll see what happens in 2025. But like long term, that's kind of our hope. I can say pretty confidently that we're not going to launch one 6 months after the last one.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're already at 6 months and we haven't announced it.
We are.
Whitson said more than a year. There's no guarantee of that. We don't have any timing or window or anything. It could be under a year, could be more than a year. We don't know. Just playing devil's advocate and letting you guys, we hear you. We want the Ally 2 as well. But we'll announce it when we're ready.
I'll say this: when we have something to announce on the new Ally, believe me, we will make it known.
Oh, you'll know.
You will know. Sorry, I saw a couple questions in chat, and I'm grabbing them in case they don't seem like ones that lay.
FOMO is fear of missing out. If you did not know that acronym, FOMO is fear of missing out.
Yes.
Because like if a lot of people want to have the most up-to-date hardware, and we just don't want to be making you feel like the Ally X. We were very something that we talked about a lot on the stream in general when Ally X came out. It was like, look, if you have a Z1 Extreme Ally and you really are happy with your device, this device is not a necessity for you. This is a device for anyone that didn't buy it yet, or anybody that really just wants a bigger battery.
Yep.
Right. That was the main target with that. And we found a better body for it. We upgraded it. But anyways, Ally 2, we hear you guys.
Someone in chat says, I hope it's called the Ally Y. And the one after that's called the Ally Z. But then we run out of letters, Ritz. What are we supposed to do after that? Riddle me that, Ritz. Are you the one who has to come up with the names of these things? No, I am. I got to think further ahead than that. And I already am like, I feel like I've backed myself into a corner. Ally 360. Like, I don't know what to do. All right.
So we do have some questions kind of shifting into a different pace about the realm of desktops, components, motherboards, etc. So let's jump into that. The
Other
ROG
than graphics cards.
Oh yeah, yeah. The other side of PC DIY, I guess. The ROG G700, G700 pre-built is pictured using an ASUS Prime motherboard. Good eye. Will there be a version of this with all ROG components?
Yeah, this dude is slowing down the video and watching it frame by frame, and I can appreciate the gusto. This is a really good question, and it's something that I've had actually a few conversations about, kind of as we've gone through this, because I've asked all these questions as well. So pre-built desktops are very interesting because they occupy a slightly different space than a lot of our high-end components for PC builders. When you think about the audience of PC gamers, you have a few like subcategories of people in that space. You have the enthusiasts like me, like Jake,
Sweat
like
lords.
most of you guys watching right now. Okay, I wasn't going to call our chat sweat lords, but that's cool. Enthusiasts. You guys are enthusiasts.
People that want to
also
build their machine, love it and care for it, and do the research and build it, right?
And know the technical details, and they know what a lot of those advanced features on things like a motherboard are.
Right.
Maybe they want to overclock, maybe they want to take advantage of some of these other features that we build in. And so those high-end components are worth it to us. We know what we're buying when we get a high-end motherboard. But there's another audience of PC gamers, and I think people sometimes forget this. They think all PC gamers are the
Sweat lords,
right? The sweat lords like us. But there's another audience of PC gamers, and they're not necessarily hardware enthusiasts. They're just gamers.
Like my brother,
right? They want a game.
He, I either built him a PC or he moved out of state. He needed a PC. He had to buy a pre-built. Right. That's it. Right. He wanted.
My brother did that too.
Yeah. He wanted to play PC games. He didn't want to build one. He didn't want a laptop. He bought a pre-built.
Yep. And these are people that still like the PC platform. Maybe they play on PC because their friends play on PC, or because they like mouse and keyboard, or maybe occasionally they like to use mods. Like I know there's a lot of like Roblox kind of stuff, Minecraft. People like to play with that a little bit, but they're still maybe not as tech savvy, not interested in building their own computer. It just doesn't interest them, right? I know it's very hard for us to conceive of a person that wouldn't be interested in building their computer, because I've devoted my entire life to that hobby.
Right.
But these people are not as tech savvy, and they're very price conscious. So a G700 stuffed to the gills with all of the highest end ROG parts is going to be a non-starter for the majority of pre-built buyers, because they're looking at the shelf at Best Buy or whatever, and they're saying, why is this one so much more expensive than this one when they both have a 9800 X3D and a 5080 or whatever? I mean, right? They have the same specs, but this one's so much more expensive. Why?
When my dad buys a computer, it's the number of RAM. That's the only number that means anything to him, right? How much RAM does it have? Oh, there's a lot of RAM in that one. It's good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because he was around when the days when we were really, really starved for RAM. So, if you give those, you want to give those people something that is comparable to the competition, right? But maybe it has some extra ROG flair. We can still put a solid prime board and a kick-ass graphics card in there. And you've got a PC that those more budget-conscious users are going to want. Still uses all standard parts, so they can upgrade them down the line if they get more into the tech side of things. It has advantages that they understand, but not the advantages that they're not interested in. Now, I am not saying that all pre-built buyers are like non-tech savvy people. There's obviously overlap between these two groups, right? There are people who maybe aren't interested in building a PC from scratch, but want high-end features. They want to overclock. They want to take full advantage of an ROG, crosshair hero motherboard. Those people do exist. I do think it's probably a smaller audience. I think there's probably not as much volume there. But there may be a pre-built for those people in ROG's future. I don't know. We'll have to see what the future brings us as we start to spin up this new generation of desktops. Like, this is a big upgrade to our desktop line. For this first machine. Yeah, we put a prime board in there. I think they're using prime graphics cards for most of the SKUs. To make them attractive to that audience of people. That's where the volume is. That's what people who buy pre-builds are generally looking for. I think it's going to be a good machine, but if you're looking for a higher end pre-built, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, next up, Ducky Barnes again. Can we expect an ROG Astral motherboard or PC case in the future?
Nothing to announce at this time. We talked about this a little bit earlier. For now, Astral is specific to graphics cards, but like I mentioned before, Astral is kind of the graphics card equivalent to the ROG Maximus or Crosshair motherboards. So I would be surprised if the Astral branding ended up getting carried over. I don't think that was really the goal. I think it was to have an equivalent to those things on the graphics card side. All that said, I don't have any specific information on that. That's just like my understanding of what it is now. And for the time being, it is just a graphics card series. Who knows? A lot of these questions end the same way. Who knows what the future holds? But for now, this is kind of what it looks like and the reasoning behind some of those.
But if you were to pair
decisions,
like a 5080 or 90 Astral with a Crosshair Z or X890, my brain is X870
X870 Hero.
Yes, I'm like reading things and thinking.
I know.
You pair that because that's actually what I'm doing for my build. It's going to look amazing together. Like I cannot wait to have that set up. So
the Hero board definitely fits the Astral aesthetic very well.
Yes.
And so for all intents and purposes, like I would consider that the equivalent of an ROG Astral motherboard, right?
Yeah. Cool. All right. Moving on. Infinitely free to me. Why does the Apex board have only two?
No, you wrote it wrong. It's infinitely free to be me. He's infinitely free to be him.
Oh, wow. Well, good for them. I'm so proud of you.
Wow, Jake.
Why does the Apex board have only 2 DIMM slots? It's not even an ITX.
I grabbed this from YouTube as well. I don't remember where it was. It was either one of your streams or something else. It was a good question. I also saw people asking what the difference between the Apex and the Hero boards is. And so I can kind of answer that here as well, because it's basically the same thing. So there is a specific reason for the 2 DIMM slots on the Apex. As we discussed on our motherboard stream last week, God, was that last week? The Apex boards serve a very, very specific audience. They are designed for super high performance, like professional level overclocking.
Sweat lords.
Not just yeah, literally sweating because they got like all the heat coming off their chip that they've overclocked to whatever, you know. But it's like this is not like regular I'm gaming and I want faster performance overclocking. This is like people who are trying to break world records overclocking. And when you're talking about that level of the hobby, or like for these people, this is probably a sport. Like this has gone beyond hobby, right? Things like the length of the traces between the CPU and RAM matter. Things like optimal power delivery are crucial. So you actually want 2 DIMM slots as close to the CPU as possible without other DIMM slots like in between them. You want maximum stability at crazy high speeds and so on. And so that's all serving that purpose. For things like that, you actually want only 2 DIMM slots with 1 channel per DIMM. That's a feature. It's not a cut corner. If you aren't doing like competitive overclocking and you want 4 DIMM slots for convenience, the Apex board isn't really the board you want to look at. You'll want to look at the Hero or something similar. The Hero is our high performance board that's packed with features for like an enthusiast gamer. So that's the difference between Apex and Hero, and that's why the Apex only has 2 DIMM slots. That's very much on purpose. I like how he said it's not even an ITX board though. That made me
laugh. Like, come on. Yeah.
There's room there because there is room, right? There's obviously room for more DIMM slots, but then you have to expand the length of those traces, and then you might lose a little bit of stability or speed or whatever. So,
all righty. Next up, from Lord NRG, are you planning on releasing any 16:10 or 21:10 aspect ratio gaming monitors?
So we do a lot of 16:10 panels in our laptops, but not so much on the desktop side. This is a cool question because I do like 16:10. I've kind of come back around to 16:9. I used to like 16:10 a lot, but then once we started doing like game streaming and a lot of that stuff, it would get annoying because the aspect ratio, it would like try to squish it instead of adapting to the right aspect ratio. So now I'm kind of fanboying 16:9. The main thing here, kind of like I mentioned earlier, is demand. We don't see a super high demand for 16:10 or like 21:10 monitors in the gaming space. And my understanding is that the panel manufacturers don't either because they don't really have those panels like off the shelf for us with G-Sync and high refresh rates and all that, which means that we would have to like custom order a panel, which raises our cost, which raises the cost of the monitor, which shrinks the potential audience for it even more than it already is, right? So that's not something that, at least right now, is that we see is worth soliciting a costly panel for such a small audience. But things can always change. Like trends come and go. I've seen the ultra wide trend kind of come and it kind of died down, and you know, things kind of come in and out. So it's possible in the future. Who knows? But right now, it's not really something that we're focused on. But I definitely understand why you want that. That extra vertical real estate is nice for sure.
Yeah. As a streamer, I wish I could enjoy that, but like you said, you know, with stream, every time I have to use a 16:10 laptop, I convert it to 16:9, and
Jake wants an IMAX monitor that just is like a dome over his head.
oh, man, can you imagine? That'd be great. Be great. All right. So that's it for our pre-selected questions, and we're going to go back to taking some live
That's all of
questions
them.
from chat. We've actually got a few here that Lane grabbed. It's pinned in YouTube chat, but people still keep asking about pricing and availability, but it is pinned in chat. We have nothing to share on that. So
Beyond what we shared at the very beginning of the stream. So if you missed that, when the stream is over, you can
Go
go
watch,
we have like
go
some
rewind.
general timeframes for a few things, but pricing will be up. Check retailers, check our site for pricing. When it's up, but we don't have it to share just yet.
Yep. And I've continued to see people asking about white versions and stuff. Like there will be some versions of that. But
Yep.
we don't have any concrete information for you on that front. That being said, Whitson, have you peeked around these questions that Lane grabbed, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead and start with the first one.
True Glitch TV. What are your opinions on the Battlemage GPUs from Intel? What do you know about the upcoming Battlemage GPUs, and when will you plan to release an ROG Battlemage GPU?
I wanted to answer this because I don't have an answer. But I know a lot of people. Are like asking these questions, right? I think it's cool. I always love to see like new technology come into the space.
New competition, right? That's great.
Yeah, I don't always love seeing new competition, but you know, in this case, it's one of those things where it's like it's new competition, but it also is a potential future partner for us, right?
Yeah.
Like the Intel GPUs don't necessarily have to stay competition forever. If as that platform kind of starts to mature, if our team sees value there, they might make one. I am not aware of any plans at the moment, but we are, I don't usually hear about those kinds of plans this early on. So,
okay.
It just, I think it's cool. I personally would love to see some in the future, but who knows? I also don't know, like, depending on their price points, they might not be like ROG, but you might maybe see some tough gaming models or something like that. Like, who knows? That's just me making stuff up. That's not me giving you any insider information.
I'm also going to come out here and give another blanket answer. People are asking about, new products. Why didn't you announce this? When's the ROG VR headset? If we haven't announced anything, we have nothing to discuss here today. Sorry, guys. Wish we could just wish we could just say, oh yeah, it's coming out. Yeah, we're working on it. No, we have no idea. One, if it's being manufactured, stuff like that, and two, we have nothing to share on that front. Anyways, Zenbo7 says, respect to Whitson. He's not only fluent in marketing language, but also the technical stuff. That's very good. How often does Whitson work with ASUS UI UX designers? I mean, I guess with Ally, we've given some feedback. You definitely have.
I have to address this first part worse. I am not fluent in marketing at all. This is my first marketing job.
You're
guys, for reference,
natural.
I am not trained. Like Jake, this is an interesting thing.
We're like the weirdest department.
We are. Jake and I work for the marketing department technically.
Content
neither
marketing.
of us are marketers.
Yeah,
content marketing.
I'm a live streamer, like an esports caster gone sellout.
But that's the thing about content marketing is it's a very specific type of marketing where a lot of time you don't hire marketers, or you can hire people from. It's like Jake was an esports commentator, podcaster, pro gamer, like all that stuff. I was a reviewer. I reviewed laptops and monitors and things like that, and just like an enthusiast. So I used to write for PC Mag and IGN and New York Times, all those places, right? So don't tell my boss, who's hopefully not watching this right now, but I don't know jack about marketing.
It's 5 a.m. You could be awake.
I just really love talking about this stuff because this is like, it's my passion, just like it's Jake's passion, just like it's all of your passions. And that's, I guess, makes me kind of effective at this weird little corner of marketing in the company that we have. So thanks, but not true. As far as how often we work with UI UX designers, occasionally, yes. So one of my many jobs is helping refine some of the copy in things like Armory Crate, right? So if you like hover over a button in Armory Crate and you get a little tooltip that tells you what it does or something like that, like a lot of times I've written that. Or if they're like, what do we call this button? They come to me and my team, Lane and Jake, and sometimes I'll bring them in and be like, okay, guys, I have like a couple ideas for what this button should be called. Can we vote on this? Because I'm kind of torn. So that stuff does
I lost your mic.
work.
Oh, that was
What?
weird.
My mic?
You're back. You're back. That was weird. You just like
Okay, weird. Anyway, I don't do UI UX stuff. That's not my area of expertise. Just like marketing is not my area of expertise.
we did give
But
feedback
I do copy.
when the Ally first came out and we all got our hands on the Ally.
Yeah, totally.
We gave some feedback on like the command center, you know, not having like the clock at the top, and the battery, yeah, stuff like that. But like for the most part, yeah,
for sure,
that's its own team.
We give feedback as people who use the products because again, we're enthusiasts. We're not just people who like sell these products we know nothing about. Like I play games almost every day. I play in the Ally all the time. And if there's something I want, like I'll tell the team about it. But I also am very aware that what I want is not necessarily what's best for the product or what's best for gamers as a whole. Because again, we talked about this earlier. We are enthusiasts. We're not casual gamers that don't like, so the Ally especially the Ally has to appeal to a very wide audience of gamers. And that isn't always those of us who love playing with TGP sliders and enabling all these features.
That's why command center's ever evolving. Yeah, right. So
yeah. So sometimes what we want doesn't always match what is best for the product as a whole, but a lot of times it does.
Okay, cool. Next is from Roboy150. Is there a telescopic controller for the Z13?
Oh, I didn't read this question. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Like telescopic controller?
Are you talking about the Roboy, hit us up. Are you talking about the camera? Are you talking about gamepads? The Z13 is compatible with any gamepad that you could use on a PC. So if you're talking about controllers.
But I've never heard of a telescopic controller.
Does it have a telescope so you can see?
I'm just imagining a controller like
this guy's like
a flat controller
is too small.
No, I'm thinking of something that's collapsible.
Cool. That's cool. I could be into that.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Pandurian Grace says, what are those 2 3 to 4 pin headers near the power input on the Astral? I believe you're talking about our Fan Connect headers. I think they just moved them to a different part of the graphics card than they previously have been, but we talked about them earlier in the show. You can connect case fans to those and then use GPU tweak to control the case fan speed based on your GPU temperature rather than your CPU temperature. It's pretty cool. And my case is actually a perfect use case for it because I have some case fans that directly face the GPU and no other components. So
Rama Prime's asked this a few times. Is there a possibility of a Zephyrus Duo? There's always a possibility of a future Zephyrus Duo. We have nothing to announce at this time, but there is always a possibility of that happening in the future. We're not saying it's done. We just have nothing new at the moment, right? Our new lineup has been announced.
I've seen a lot of people saying like, hey, could you make the Zephyrus Duo, but like the ZenBook Duo with those 2 full screens that open up?
Dude, they need to.
That would be
the
sick.
First time I saw the ZenBook Duo, I was wowed. And I was like, why haven't we done that? So fingers crossed.
The fact that we're all thinking about it means someone's at least considering.
The feedback has been received from multiple people, right? We can say that. Because the ZenBook Duo, if you haven't seen that device, check it out. It's really cool. That's available right now. Zephyrus Duo. Nothing new to announce at this time. Cool. From Nor on YouTube, do you have the reboot Z13 to allocate? Wait. Do you have to reboot the Z13 to allocate the VRAM memory, or would it do it automatically? So that's a good question actually, because I don't know how that works.
It is.
Is it like the Ally? Oh, okay.
You have to, so you would select the amount of VRAM that you want and then reboot the device. And then that's when the allocation would change. It doesn't do it automatically on the fly. That would be cool, but we're not there yet.
Windows isn't there yet, is the secret. From AIM on YouTube, I hope you don't launch a new Ally this year. See, we were just kind of talking about the FOMO situation with Ally. There are people that are already like, I just invested in this product. I have the Ally X. I don't want to feel like I'm missing out. So we hear you. We understand.
We understand. I don't want to say we're not going to, because we still may.
Right.
We do have new chips this year, but
again, we understand that mentality though. We're not trying to make people feel like they need to upgrade every 6 months, right? People are like, why haven't you announced it? Ally X is 6 months old. We hear that feedback loud and clear. We understand. And we're going to do what makes the most sense for the whole big picture, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, Arzang PR. Does the Thor Platinum 2 work with a 5090? I guess. What is the wattage in the Thor Platinum 2? I would imagine so.
So there are multiple wattages of Thor Platinum 2. He's saying you got to finish the question, or should I buy the Thor Platinum 3? So he's saying he has the last generation Thor power supply. Does he need to buy the new Thor 3 for his 5090? So I'm going to drop this in chat. And I think it's possible that this article that I just dropped is maybe where you were getting this recommended. We're obviously recommending the Thor 3 because that's our newest power supply. It has all the newest features, the newest efficiency standards from us, all that stuff. On Thor 2, as long as you have the correct wattage, which again, in that link, you can find a graph for what kind of wattage you need for the 5090 with different CPU combos. If you have a Thor 2 that matches the wattage, you'll be okay. The Thor 3 does offer some advantages, right? Oh, I just clicked on something. The Thor 3 has our new gallium nitride MOSFETs, so it's going to be a little bit more efficient, maybe a little bit quieter. It has that new GPU first intelligent voltage stabilizer, which is kind of cool. It's like a separate cable that you plug into your power supply into your GPU, and it uses your GPU's power needs to like drive how much power is being delivered to the machine. Like it's kind of tracking that above all else, which is cool. It means you're going to get more stable, reliable power, especially during some of those spikes or if you're overclocking or something like that. But like the Thor Platinum 2 is not incompatible with the 5090 by any stretch of the imagination. Talking about trying to like, we're not trying to spread FOMO, right? Your Thor 2 is going to work fine. You're good. Enjoy that 5090.
Yeah.
But if you're buying a new power supply, I would look at the Thor 3. I know a lot of people have been asking about when it's available. Very soon.
Very soon, TM.
Very soon.
Okay, Kaysen does stuffs. Should I keep my iPhone 15? iPhone users in chat? What? Or switch to ROG Phone 9? What?
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that before.
I mean, yeah.
So I will say, I have the ROG Phone 9. I have been using it since about launch time. It is really, really good.
Phone 8 is great too.
It is, yeah, they're pretty similar. ROG 9 has some improvements, but the 8 I think is still available if you want to save a few bucks. It has kind of the same overall design.
Yes.
So that's a good, like, you can kind of decide which one of those you want. The Phone 9 is going to be a little bit more powerful. It's got a couple extra features. It's a very good device. Ooh, yeah, very nice.
Can your iPhone do that?
It's definitely the best phone we've ever made. It's awesome. I have never used a phone this powerful. The screen is big and beautiful. The in-screen fingerprint sensor works really well. That has not always been the case for me on phones. That I used to kind of hate those in-screen fingerprint sensors because a lot of, like, on some phones they didn't work well, especially with screen protectors. On my ROG Phone 9 so far, it's working really well. I really love this phone. The battery lasts like multiple days. It's got, so if you go back to we've showcased the ROG Phone 9 recently on this stream. And that was one of the hardest streams I put together all year because the ROG Phone 9 has so many features that I could not possibly fit it into one stream. And I was like, how do we do a demo of this that only lasts like 20-30 minutes, let alone like even an hour? I wouldn't be able to do it all. If you just scroll through the settings on that phone, and there's like so much stuff. So if you are the kind of person that wants to game, like games hard on their phone, you want to configure every single inch of how it works and like the different kinds of like buttons available to you and stuff, the ROG Phone is awesome. That's what I'll say about it. Yeah. As just someone who is using the ROG Phone, that is how I would sell it.
The only thing I'm going to add though is if you do a lot of gaming on your phone, that's what this is made for gamers, right? Great phone for anyone that isn't a gamer if you want to go ahead and invest in it, but it really is a phenomenal phone for gamers. And the extra USB port on the side, especially when you game in landscape, the air triggers and stuff, it's a different product at that point. There's no other phone that is quite like it when you're able to plug in from the side to have it, when you're playing in landscape and then have the air triggers. It's a different product. Like it really is. Your iPhone, it's got literally just can't, the air triggers,
air triggers on the top.
It's a whole different
If you want a phone that's not, or if you're not a gamer, right? Obviously, you're probably not watching this, but like the Zenfone line is a line for people who aren't hardcore gaming. Like you could still casually game on that. It actually has some.
And you loved your Zenfone. You had a Zenfone. Or you still have a Zen
I still
phone?
have a Zenfone. Yeah, my Zenfone is my personal phone. Like this was not provided by the company. I bought the Zenfone because it actually was the phone that fit my needs the best. And then this is my work phone, which the phone team sent me. So the Zenfone does still have some gaming features on it. Like you could totally game on that phone and have a few things that give you what you need if you're not doing it a ton. But if you're gaming a lot on your phone, this bad boy is a beast.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
Cool. Well, we do need to wrap things up here. We're getting towards the end. We got maybe 1 or 2 more questions we can do. The new SCAR models, do they have a silent mode where you can shut the fans off completely?
Yes. All of our laptops have our 0 dB ambient fan. I forget what the exact marketing name is. Someone's going to get mad at me. It's yeah, all of our laptops if you put them into silent mode in Armory Crate, and you're just doing like light tasks like web browsing or whatever, the fans will turn off completely. You've got that on, I believe, all of our laptops this generation at least.
Yeah. This last one, this is gonna be the last question we take. I don't know if we have the information or not. How many HDMI ports are on the 5090? Let's say the Astral. Do you happen to know the IO ports?
All of that information is on the product page. Like, so I've seen a number of questions that are asking questions that are on the product page. Like if you guys go Google the product, look through the features tab, look through the tech specs tab, which for some reason is not loading for me right now, probably because I'm streaming. It should tell you everything you need to know. You've got 2 native HDMI 2.1B ports and 3 DisplayPort 2.1A ports on the Astral 5090.
Okay. There you go. There you go.
I know a lot of people actually were pretty hype about that because not all manufacturers were offering 2 HDMI ports.
They've gone down to 1 on a ton of cards. Yeah. Yeah. But I get it. If you're using a VR headset and one for your monitor or whatever.
Or a TV, like if you're doing what I'm doing back here, right? You've got VR and a TV back here, you need 2. DisplayPort is the superior connection, I think, for most gaming desktop PC gaming use cases, but I know that there are definitely people that want HDMI for one reason or another, and yeah, we've got that. So props to our team for thinking of that and putting that in.
It's important.
I feel like if I were in charge of it, I'd been like, yeah, 1 HDMI, who cares? Because I'm an idiot like that. So our team is smarter than me. All right, so I see a lot of other questions, guys. A lot of these we cannot answer because asking questions about performance, we can't answer those yet because performance embargoes are not up yet. Some of these are things about future products that we haven't announced. We can't answer those. So I know we didn't get to every single question in chat. If we didn't get to it, you can probably bet it's something that we don't have the answer to, or maybe it was something that was already asked earlier in the stream. So definitely as soon as we sign off, you'll be able to go watch the full Q&A on YouTube and Twitch and see if there's anything you missed. I'm going to add timestamps. After I eat some lunch, I will add some timestamps to this so you guys can check stuff out. If we didn't have the answers, and it was something that should be out there, next time we definitely recommend asking your question in Discord, like we said during the CES stream and the GPU stream, because that's the best way for us to go to the team and get answers to some of the more niche or in-depth questions, like floofy poofies. What's the distance between of the opening around the 16-pin connector? Those are the kind of questions we need some time to go find. We don't have that info off the top of our heads, unfortunately. I wish I did, but I have to go hunt someone down. That said, guys, this is not the end of our coverage of these new products, not by a long shot. We will be getting hands-on with the new ROG Astral cards very soon, as well as our new laptops. Next week on this very channel, same time, we will be unboxing the ROG Flow Z13. So subscribe and follow if you want to see all of this new stuff in the flesh, or in the silicon. Jake will be gaming on the new GPUs and laptops.
Soon TM.
We might even have some build streams in store.
Yep. Sounds like a couple build streams.
I'm going to be doing a mini ITX build with the 5090 LC if all goes according to plan. I just bought one of the new B850 motherboards. I'm ready to go. We're going to set up a camera on my floor over there, and I'm going to build a mini ITX PC into my entertainment center. It's going to be cool. Subscribe, follow if you want to see all of this cool stuff happen.
Yeah, but it has been a chaotic launch period from CES, and I think we've all earned a nice little gaming session. So if you want to hang out with us tomorrow, we're actually going to get the squad together. Robert and Lane are going to join Whitson and I for some Marvel Rivals. So if you want to hang out on YouTube and Twitch tomorrow, we'll be back with some Marvel Rivals co-op squad gameplay. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, that Z13 unboxing will be next week. Guys, thanks for hanging out today. We'll have lots more coverage of all of these products, unboxings, hands-on performance, you name it, in the future. Thank you all for the live questions and the questions in the Discord. We'll see you tomorrow. GG's and take care.